Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and absolutely critical topic based on insights from the DVMS Institute. We're looking closely at the people who actually power a governance by assurance program. If you've ever found yourself wondering how to connect your organization's massive cybersecurity investments to provable, undeniable business resilience, well, you're definitely in the right place. Let's jump right in.
So let me ask you the ultimate question, and it's a tough one. How do we know our organization is operating as intended today? If you sit in the boardroom, or honestly, even if you're running an IT help desk, you know the pain behind that question. We spend billions, literally billions of dollars on cyber tech, frameworks, and compliance every year. Yet, when executives ask this single fundamental question, it usually goes completely unanswered. Or at best, they just get an educated guess. You see, the root of this massive blind spot is traditional governance. It relies on written policies, periodic audits, and delayed reporting. It's basically giving you a snapshot of a single moment in time weeks ago. But then we have governance by assurance, and this is a real game changer. It's about continuous verification. It pulls live operational telemetry to create a unified source of truth. We're moving away from just hoping things work to continuously proving that they actually do.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The cybersecurity governance gap. 2. Enter governance by assurance. 3. Leadership, defining the intent. 4. Governance, continuous verification. 5. Operations, producing the evidence. And 6. The culture of assurance.
Section 1. The cybersecurity governance gap. Cyber governance.
So here's the core of the problem. It's a massive disconnect. Like I mentioned, billions are spent, yet leaders are still relying on fragmented data and delayed reporting to figure out what's going on. Traditional governance mechanisms, like those thick binders of written policies, are great at describing what an organization intends to do, but they completely fail to verify what is actually happening across the digital enterprise on a random Tuesday afternoon. The reality simply doesn't match the intent.
Section 2. Enter governance by assurance. The DVMS overlay system.
Think of the DVMS NIST Cybersecurity Framework governance by assurance overlay system kind of like the anatomy of your organization. Up at the top, in the strategy layer, you have the brain. That's leadership. They set the strategic intent. Below that is the governance layer. That's the nervous system. It translates the brain signals into clear instructions. And finally, at the bottom, the operational layer. Those are the muscles. They do the actual heavy lifting, and crucially, they send telemetry right back up to the brain. The system doesn't rip and replace what you already have. It just sits on top as an overlay, turning your intent into evidence and assurance into trust.
The real magic here is how this continuous cycle of value actually flows. First, leadership sets the intent. Second, governance translates that intent into measurable obligations. Third, operations generate the evidence just by doing their normal daily work. And fourth, that evidence flows right back up to provide executive assurance. It is a continuous, living loop of value that connects all your existing, disconnected systems into one unified source of verifiable truth.
Section 3. Leadership, defining the intent. Leadership's role.
So ask yourself for a second, where do you sit in this hierarchy? The board sets the risk appetite. The CEO integrates cyber into the broader business strategy. The CIO aligns the tech. The CISO defines the NIST-aligned capabilities, and the Chief Risk Officer ensures cyber risk is treated as overall enterprise risk. Under governance by assurance, these leaders don't just set lofty, vague goals anymore. They actually define the measurable outcomes that must be continuously verified. They're setting the standard for what success actually looks like in practice. Section 4. Governance, continuous verification. The governance layer.
This right here is that nervous system we talked about earlier. We're talking governance professionals, compliance officers, internal auditors, and data governance teams. In the old world, these folks basically formed periodic oversight committees. But under this new model, they are part of a continuous active management discipline. They translate executive intent into measurable obligations and ensure the data flowing up from operations is 100% accurate, traceable, and trusted. Every single governance activity here produces evidence that directly reduces executive uncertainty.
Section 5. Operations, producing the evidence. The operational layer.
And now we're down to the muscles of the organization. cybersecurity analysts, infrastructure teams, HR, procurement. It is so important to understand that these teams aren't just blindly following policies. When an infrastructure team operates a cloud environment, or when HR verifies a training competency, or even when an identity system just records a routine login, they are actively generating the evidence base. Their daily routine activities are literally what powers this entire governance system. This creates a massive transformation for everyone involved. We take all that operational telemetry from those teams and turn it into unified, audit-ready evidence. Imagine this loop in action. A cybersecurity analyst blocks a threat on the network. Instantly, that telemetry translates into a unified dashboard view right in a boardroom. Leadership doesn't have to wait for some clunky end-of-the-month report anymore. They can confidently answer right in that moment whether the organization is operating within its approved risk tolerance.
And now we have to talk about AI, right? Because this framework becomes even more critical when we introduce artificial intelligence into the mix. AI is incredibly powerful at analyzing thousands of data sources to predict degradation and recommend actions. But let's be honest, it introduces massive governance challenges. Ensuring transparency, maintaining accountability, guaranteeing explainability, and establishing trust. It's a lot of complexity. Well, the DVMS overlay solves this by making sure that every single AI recommendation is backed by trusted, verifiable evidence. It accelerates your analysis while preserving absolute human accountability.
Section 6. The culture of assurance. Shared responsibility. When you get this right, in a governance by assurance environment, a massive cultural shift takes place. Cybersecurity completely ceases to be this isolated program pushed by the IT department. Instead, it becomes a shared organizational responsibility embedded right into the company's DNA. Every single employee starts to understand that their daily work isn't just about ticking boxes on assigned tasks. Their work is actively producing the evidence that proves the organization is achieving its big strategic goals.
The result of that culture shift is a complete evolution of the business. We move away from treating security like a mere compliance exercise, the ones filled with assumptions, ambiguity, and really stressful periodic corrections. Instead, we evolve into a living, breathing management capability. We get real transparency, accountability, and continuous learning. Audits transform from these panic-inducing events into routine confirmations of what you already know is true, simply because you have the daily evidence to prove it.
I want to highlight this absolutely brilliant quote from Rick Lemieux, co-founder of the DVMS Institute. He says, "The future of digital governance is not defined by more policies, more reports, or more compliance activities. It is defined by the ability to continuously verify that organizational intent is being fulfilled through trusted evidence." That perfectly drives home everything we've covered today. Organizations don't need another system that just shows what should happen. They desperately need a system that demonstrates with cold, hard evidence what is actually happening. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Think about your day-to-day role wherever you might sit in your organization's anatomy. Are you just completing tasks, or are you producing assurance? It's a fundamental shift in mindset, and honestly, it's the key to true digital resilience. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a powerful new perspective to take back to your teams.